it's so funny. It is a lot like dating. It's like when you're a little too thirsty for someone, like the person isn't interested. Like you have to like leave a bit of mystery. Hello, we are here with Sun Sounds of Arizona in Flagstaff, Arizona, and welcome to episode 25 of Untamed Shrews, Women Talk Theater, presented by the Flagstaff Shakespeare Festival. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Becki.
And I'm Dawn. Welcome to our January episode, which just so happens to be our 2-year anniversary.
Woo! Ow,
ow!
We did it.
Nice.
We made it.
Wow.
Also,
very exciting.
25 episodes?
Wait, how did we do 25 episodes in 2 years? Did we double up 1 month?
Well, but now this will be the 25th. Yeah. It's like yeah, because we didn't start at 0. Like we started at 1.
1, yeah.
Like, yeah.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
I see how it happened.
Math.
Like I was just.
I know we need to do something. I'll make a cake.
Yeah. You'll make it. Okay, you make a cake, Hannah.
I'll make a cake.
Yeah. We need to all make a cake, Hannah.
Hannah, you make a cake. I won't make a cake.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
That's what I do. But we did go to dinner for our 10 episode because remember, like going past 10 was like a huge feat. So we should like do something.
Yeah. And I was super pregnant. All I ate was a huge glass of milk.
Yes. You ordered, I think, like a singular meatball.
Oh yeah.
A meatball and a glass of milk. Oh my God, pregnancy is
a singular meatball and a glass of milk.
Like, please don't touch me, everybody. Went to like a Italian restaurant and I got a glass of milk and a meatball.
The title of your autobiography: a singular meatball and a glass of milk.
1 meatball and a glass of milk. Dawn Tucker story.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should definitely do something fun like that again, like go out or whatever. Yeah.
Well, happy 2 years, my shrews.
Yay.
Happy 2 years.
Well, so much has happened.
Yeah, speaking of, let's check in. What has happened since the last time we chatted with our shrew crew in December? What's new?
Well, Hannah, you went to the Bahamas. Tell us about Bahamas.
Oh my gosh, guys, my last 3 weeks of my life have been insane. Like, what is happening? Who am I? Where am I? I don't know where I live and what I'm doing anymore. The Bahamas was amazing. I left New York which was so sad. Saying goodbye to the New York crew was really hard. Yeah, and the Bahamas was amazing. I was there for like 8 days. I went for the Shakespeare Theater Association conference, and it was such a blast. Normally, I would have never probably done a vacation like that because it was at the Atlantis, which is just crazy and expensive and really fancy, and it's a resort, which is just not. I'm more of like an Airbnb kind of gal when I go on vacations, and I'd like to do more like the local sides of things. I'm not really like an all-inclusive resort kind of person. So it was definitely interesting, but it was beautiful. I mean, laying by the pool, being on the beach, I just got to see so many different marine animals because basically the Atlantis is like also an aquarium. And Sta itself was awesome, as it always is. I got to see friends that I had made last year who I stayed close with. Like there's like a group of like 4 or 5 of us that have stayed close throughout the year and have visited each other and seen each other, and we get on Zooms like every month. And so that was amazing seeing them, and also just like continuing to create some stronger connections with other Shakespeare theaters and people from other Shakespeare theaters. So that was great. But the Bahamas itself was amazing. Got a stamp in my passport. But it was gorgeous. Yeah, it was so great. I mean, I will say though, now that I'm back in Arizona, I feel like a dried prune because I was in the Bahamas and it was like 80 degrees and like, so humid.
An island.
Yeah, an island. And now I've come back and it's January in Flagstaff and I'm like, blah, I can't breathe. So I'm gonna need to drink a lot of water. But yeah, Bahamas was great. Christmas and the end of December was a little crazy. I no longer have a boyfriend. Yeah, a lot of things changed in December. Some good, mostly good, actually. I will say good. It was tough at the time, but all very good ultimately. I think that I had really big ideas for what my life was going to look like, and now it's changing a lot. So I just had to come to terms with that. But once I did, I realized that was not a bad thing. So lots of change coming, and but good. But it was a really tough Christmas, I'm not going to lie. But I got to see my family, which was amazing. And finished up my time in New York, which was sad but so fun. New Year's Eve was great. So anyway, yeah, that's me. Things are kind of crazy in my world, but hey, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Bex?
That's great. Well, we're so glad to have you back, Hannah. We missed you. Welcome back to Flag. So since recording, I had my surgery, which I was pretty distraught at the time that we were recording. And then I ended up, so my brother and my sister were visiting my parents back in Philly one of the weekends in December. And I decided to stay in Flagstaff, originally I had decided to stay in Flagstaff for that weekend because there were like a lot of things that I wanted to do in town. And then like just coupled with like needing to make a decision and everyone being home and like me not being there. Within like 5 hours of deciding to go home, I was on a plane in Phoenix going home for that weekend. And I am so grateful that I did it. It was so great seeing everybody. And I really just needed to like talk in person, like to my family, So once I made a decision, I felt so much better. I'm now on the other side of surgery and wow, do I feel like surprisingly good. I did not think I would feel this good like a week out.
You were so up and Adam.
Yeah. I feel really good. 2 people were like, you look relieved. And I'm like, I am like, wow. I mean, I've never had like a major surgery before and that was a big one. So yeah, I'm feeling good. Like there are of course still like other worries that I have, but at least like at this point, I'm like physically, at least we're feeling good. Yeah, I guess that's kind of my biggest update. Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm so glad you feel relieved. And also I'm glad that you're feeling good. Like I texted you like a day after the surgery on your birthday. And I was like, what are you up to today? And I thought you were going to be like, breakfast in bed, and I'm not feeling super well, but you listed off like 6 things you did that day. And I was like, what?
Yeah, I was super surprised. And yeah, I mean, it's great. I'll take the blessings where I can. So
yeah. Yay.
And Dawn, how are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm just momming, it's so weird. It's like I feel like I finally got it all kind of like figured out and I have some like good childcare in place and now I'm just driving myself entirely crazy trying to decide if I should have another baby, which was like
oh my God.
Never on my radar.
Yeah.
What?
No. I'm going out of my mind, Hannah.
Guys, in the Shrew crew, usually we know the things that are going to come out of each other's mouths. This is a new one.
It's a new one for me too. I'm shocked and surprised also, but it's literally the only thing I ever think about. And it's like totally like 180-degree turn every time. I'm like, I have to have another baby. There's no way I'm ever having another baby. I have to have another baby. I'm never having another baby. So it's really intense. I don't know how people decide to have a second baby. Like, it's just so crazy because those, like, that early stuff is so hard. I was so certain I would never want another baby. And now, like, he's so much fun. And like, I finally kind of like figured shit out. And I'm like, okay, like, I think I want another baby, but I hated being pregnant. I hated postpartum. I hated, so that's like where I'm at. That's mostly what I spend a lot of my time thinking about. My other big update is I just have to say that a lot of people have approached me after the burnout episode and been like, are you okay? And I just want to say, like, that actually that episode was super cathartic for me.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys felt, but almost as soon as we did it, I was like, like, nice, like, that's done, and I feel good, and I'm glad we said it all, and I'm glad we like got it all out there and talked about it, because I just think, you know, like, some of it was just like building up, like a lot of pressure building up, and somehow, like, you know, even though like we had all talked individually, and I had talked to a lot of my friends and family about how I was feeling, somehow, like, talking to the Shrew Crew about it, like doing it on the podcast, was super cathartic.
Great.
And I really am feeling like better and more invigorated. And also, like, huge shout out just to, you know, Justice, who joined our team. Like, I feel like he really is just like, he's taking on the job and he's bringing a lot of fresh energy. And I think that's super helpful too. Like, when you have, you know, turnover can be scary, and like, we adored Amy and did not want to see Amy go, and Amy's still definitely like part of the Flag Shakes team and will keep working with us, but having someone new come in with like a whole fresh perspective and like different ideas. And, you know, we've been talking about venues and we've been talking about stuff, and like, Justice will just suddenly pop in with an idea that it's like, what? Of course, like, that's the best idea. Why didn't I think of that idea? Like, sometimes you just need new perspective and new ideas and new thoughts on things. And so that's really awesome. And I'm chatting with Amy like next week just to see about like how we're going to keep her involved. So just feels really good. Like, the team is, you know, like, strong and coming together and filled with enthusiasm. So I think that's
I agree. The episode was very cathartic because we had been like texting afterwards and we're like, whew, that was a lot. And basically, you know, we needed it so badly. We needed to just be like, these are all of my thoughts and feelings, good, bad, ugly. But honestly, it was like really it was kind of a tipping point for me because the week after we recorded that episode is when like everything went down for me. So it was definitely like I don't know, it was like a verbal process, so that that following week I was like, no. And I made a lot of changes that following week that were, you know, trying to put myself on a better path when it comes to my career and my personal life and what I want and what I'll put up with and what I won't. And so it really was like a precursor to some huge life changes. I was hoping we would get more reach outs about like people feeling the same way. Like, I'm really glad that people reached out to check on you, but I haven't received anyone saying like, I feel the same way. So if you are listening now and you haven't listened to Burnout, or if you have and you're feeling the same way, I am still curious to hear from you because I just want to know other people's experiences. And I was expecting people to be like, wow, I feel this way too. I got a couple comments and stuff, but nothing like super particular. So,
and it like ebbs and flows, I guess, you know, like, we're feeling great, like, maybe that's when other people are like, whoa, I need to take a step back, like, and you know.
Good. Well, you're having another baby. That's crazy. Well,
I'm not having another baby. Also,
you heard it here first, folks.
My uterus is not fully in a position to have another baby yet. So the first step is just going to a doctor and being like, what's going on in my uterus?
Yeah.
I'm not sharing all the gory details with the Shrew Crew, and they don't need to hear all the gory details. But just the basics is, first I have to see if my uterus is willing to have another baby.
Understood.
But yeah, I mean, if anyone out there with people on the Shrew crew who either did or did not have multiple babies, please tell me how you decided what to do. Please reach out to me and be like, this is the decision I finally made, because I'm going out of my mind. It's wild.
Yeah.
With Blake, it was just so clear. So I don't, like, I didn't have this experience. I was just like, I need to have a baby. I'm going to have a baby. Sean, we're going to have a baby. And he was like, whoa, I don't know. And then he was like, okay. And so then we had a baby. And now I'm like, we're going to have a baby. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, we're not going to have a baby. And he's like, okay.
Like, well, that's great though. He's happy either way. And that is all you can ask for in a husband.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like he, embodies a lot of what, the tenets of like true feminism are. He's like, it's your body. Like, you want to have a baby, have a baby. Don't have a baby, don't have a baby. Like, he's totally game for it either way. And yeah, mostly what he says to me now is I'll be like, we're going to have a baby. And he's like, well, it sounds like you made up your mind. And then I'll be like, I'm not going to have a baby. And he'll be like, sounds like you made up your mind. He knows it's just going to change in 10 seconds.
That's so funny.
Nice.
So yeah, but no, he's great. He's supportive. 10 out of 10 recommend a man who just supports whatever your choices with your uterus are. Like, that's the guy.
10 out of 10 would recommend Sean Golightly as a husband.
I mean, I would for me, but I don't
but not for anyone else, of course.
Sorry, no one else gets Sean. Oh. Well, it seems like we are just generally in much better spirits this month. Yeah. It was the holidays. It was kind of, I think we all sort of went through a lot in the last few weeks. So I'm really glad that we're feeling a little bit better. I mean, none of us have answers, but at least we feel better.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of it. Like coming out of those winter blues, I guess.
Okay. Well, then let's jump right in on the topic of the episode today, which is about auditioning. And it seemed like the perfect time to talk about it. It is audition season. January through March-ish seems to be sort of the general time. So I hope that this is a helpful episode for anyone who's gearing up for audition season. Let's just get into it. Just to start off silly, does anyone have a horror audition story?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So it was 2018 and I was kind of like just getting back into auditioning after doing the West Side and kind of like a couple years like primarily as a stage manager. And I went up to New York and I was like crashing on I was living in Philly at the time, and I crashed on a friend's couch for a couple days to like really hit the pavement of going to, I mean, I think I only did like 3 days of auditions, but I had at least like 2 that I wanted to try to get to each day type of thing. Yeah. And it was the night before, and he had just opened a show. He was a sound designer. So we were like at this party, and this one gal was like, oh, like I was really lucky to book this. I wasn't union, but I got seen because the audition was in like June or something. So it wasn't like a crazy amount of people. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's great. Like, do you have any tips? Like, I'm doing some stuff this upcoming week. She was like, definitely get there like 5 a.m. And I was like, I'm sorry, come again? Like, what? That is stupid early. And so like I did that for those 3 days, and by Wednesday my body was just like, what are you doing? We are not okay. Like, you need to take a break. Because like it's a lot of nerves, and like as an EMC member, like there's no guarantee that you'll get seen, and really like there's no guarantee that you'll get seen even as a union member at these auditions. But as somebody who's EMC or non-union, like yeah, it's such a crapshoot. My last audition of the last day that I was planning to do it, and I was already so tired, and I got seen, which was so exciting. And the guy behind, so first of all, so it's the auditions are in like these rehearsal rooms. So there's usually like a wall of mirrors because it's also could be like a dance studio. this guy was sitting in front of this wall of mirrors and he kept the curtain open. So I am staring at myself during this audition, which is just the freaking worst. Like, wow, I would rather look at anything else other than myself during an audition. And so like, I was like, wow, that sucks. And then like, as soon as I start, he's shuffling papers. He's not looking at me. He's doing this, he's doing that. And I'm just like, this is the worst audition. Like, this man is being so rude. And I'm like, what is it? Is it me? Like, is it because I'm non-union? Is it because the gal before me, I was like, wow, she is gorgeous. And like, I was like, wow, now I'm feeling like self-conscious about that. I'm just like, what is going on? And it was just the most horrible experience because I felt like I just couldn't get his attention when I was only in the room for like 2 minutes. And that was like my time, you know, like that's what they say is like your audition is your time. And I just feel like, yeah, it was so terrible. He was so rude. Man, I mean, I guess that's not like a horror story as horrible as it could be, but like.
No, I agree. Sometimes you're like, dude, yeah, like look at my resume, like maybe glance at my resume to see what I've done or something. But like, if you don't look at me, I understand that you can like tell a lot about a person by their voice, but like, look at me. Like, yeah, I don't know. I agree. I think try to give, anytime that I've been on the other side of the table, I really try to give as much of myself to them as possible. And I try to laugh and giggle and smile because you're only going to give me a better performance if I am giving you something back. So, I'm sorry, that sucks. And I feel like that's pretty common.
Yeah, like they don't write you off before you get a chance to even like prove yourself. I don't know.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I don't think I have like a traditional horror story in the fact that like, yeah, I mean, of course I've like cracked a high note or something, but nothing like so bad that like I ran out in tears or something. Like, how about you, Dawn?
Yeah, I can't think of one that's so awful, but honestly, like I stopped auditioning a long time ago. I don't think I've done an audition. I haven't auditioned since I moved to Flagstaff. You know, my whole world just took like a hard right turn kind of. But I remember too in college, you know, when we would talk about like different types of theater, you know, the professors being like, you do have to decide if what you want to do is spend the rest of your life acting or the rest of your life auditioning. And I was like, oh shit, like I don't want to spend the rest of my life auditioning. Because I just hate it. And so you know, like I have so much respect for both of you and for a lot of the actors who I know, but I also see actors who get caught in the cycle. So I mean, I have two really good friends who are in LA, not friend of the podcast, Trey Peace, different friend. But I have two friends who've been in LA probably for over a decade now, and I invite them constantly. I'm like, come do a show, come direct a show, come act in a show. They're both amazing performers, and every time it's premiere season. No, I just signed up for an acting class. No, but neither of them has worked since they got there. And it's like, I appreciate the hustle. I appreciate people who want to put their effort into the hustle. I just have no desire to do it. So I mean, I did it definitely during grad school, out of grad school. But once I started working, I just kind of kept working like in the circle where I was getting work. And then once I decided that I wanted to be in Flagstaff doing Shakespeare, then the only option was to start my own company. So I started my own company. And you know, that becomes awkward too. I've been in less and less shows specifically because it feels weird. It feels like I'm casting myself. It feels like now that we have a casting director, it's a little better, but I would honestly have to audition for Raquel. Raquel hasn't ever seen me act. So that would be, hey Raquel, let me do an audition for you. I don't know. My sphere kind of moved away from it after, Fool for Love was really the last thing I did. So I don't know. I just haven't had the same like drive or desire.
Yeah.
Well, so now that you're on the other side of the table, as they call it, do you find, and now I'm, I guess, switching maybe the meaning of like a bad audition, but like, so growing up or being in college, like directors and like our teachers were always like, when you go into an audition, like the casting directors they'll remember the really great auditions, they'll remember the really bad auditions, but if you're somewhere in the middle, like they might not, and they probably won't like remember you. Do you find that like, does that ring true to you, like being on the casting side of the table?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely put less emphasis on the really bad auditions. I mean, they're painful in the moment. I think the thing about being on the other side of the table, and this was like really profound advice to me as an actor and also as someone doing the auditioning, is like the person you're auditioning for really wants you to be the one. Like they want you to walk in and nail it and be who they're looking for. So, you know, it's like, we're not on the other side of the table going, you know, like, oh, that was terrible. Like, we're like, ooh, that, hopefully the next one is better. Do you know what I mean? And like, but I would say like the really awful ones that I've seen are honestly when people are trying too hard to be remembered. Like when you can tell that they like put in a piece of blocking because they thought it was edgy, or they, you know, made a choice against text because they thought it would be, you know, surprising. And it's like, those are usually the auditions where you're just like, no. Like, I just want to see you be you, like the actor that you are. And I don't want you to worry about being mediocre. Like, that's the last thing I want actors to worry about, because if they're worried about being mediocre and so they're making choices just to not be in that group of people, that's always the worst auditions I see.
Counterintuitive. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super counterintuitive. So yeah, so I don't know, that would be my only thing. And I would also say that, you know, like personality counts for a huge chunk of it. So just walk in there and also be yourself. Don't be, you know, hi, it's almost like dating, right? It's like, don't try too hard. Don't try to be somebody else. Just like come in the room, be who you are.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure we've talked about this on the podcast too, but like, be persistent, you know, like that's how Hannah ended up here. And thank God, like she was persistent and we were a new company. And so everything was just like flying over my radar because I had so much on my plate, except Hannah, who just kept emailing me like, have you made a decision yet? And I was like, oh, you.
Well, just sure. Yes.
Yes, we'll take it.
Yeah. I've heard being politely aggressive, like checking in, like if you haven't heard back, you could be like, hey, wanted to check in, like, see where you are, like best of luck with casting, like, put the human first, like we're all humans. So like when you email somebody, like it's an actual, or when you call somebody or when you're in the room, like it is an actual real human being who is like receiving whatever you're giving, but like to just like be persistent. Yeah. Like what you said.
Yeah. I think if I had like a worst audition story, it would actually be right out of grad school. I was auditioning for a Shakespeare company that shall remain unnamed because we know them well now. And I had like a fabulous audition actually, and several callbacks. And like, I went to the city where they were to do this audition, to have the callbacks. It was a great audition. It was great callbacks. I really enjoyed my time. They were so positive. Like, they essentially offered, you know, like when I left there, I thought I'm going to get an email in 2 days being offered this part. And instead, I got an email about a week later that was like, well, since we can't pay you enough money, like since we can't pay you what you would want for this part, you know, we went ahead and offered it to someone else. And I was like, okay, because you didn't ask me if I would take what you had to offer. Like we had never had a conversation about money. And it was both an audition and it was like also a job. So it was like, you know, like a part-time position plus some acting work. And I was like, yeah, but you didn't even ask. And I was heartbroken. Because I was just like, I really wanted the job. Wow. I really wanted to live in that city for a while. I was, you know, like I've always been good at like piecing things together and making money work and whatever. And I was just like, you didn't even ask. So I think that was probably the worst audition I ever had. I just left on such a high. I felt so certain it was going to happen. And then it was like, oh no, we can't pay you what you're worth. And I was like, well, probably not. but let me decide. Like, you know, you probably can't pay me what I'm worth, but let me decide if I'm willing to take the work for what you can offer. So I think that was a good lesson too, like from the other side of the table, is now I'll often think that. I'll think like, this isn't what this person is worth, but I'm going to let them say no to me.
I think I have my worst auditions. I don't have like a specific time, but I think my worst auditions have been is like times that I've gone in trying to be someone I wasn't, or trying to like people please. So like something that was huge when I was in college and in my young 20s was like I apologized for taking up space. I was like apologizing for even auditioning. Like, and I mean, that I think just takes growing up. Like now I'm 27. I am confident in myself and my abilities, and I'm just a different human being. But I chose songs I thought I should sing. I chose pieces I thought I should do. I, you know, was like fake in the room because I was trying to be someone that I thought they would want me to be. And they saw right through that. Just like how Dawn said, like when you're trying too hard, like it's so funny. It is a lot like dating. It's like when you're a little too thirsty for someone, like the person isn't interested. Like you have to like leave a bit of mystery. And what makes a bad audition is like cheesiness, like cringiness. Like whenever I've watched, you know, when I've watched like what I consider the worst auditions, or the auditions that I've done are the worst, or like, the ones where you're like, you don't need a prop. You don't need all this extraneous stuff. If you're a good actor and you're being truthful, like strip away all of the shit. Like focus really hard on your text and your like preparedness. And I think you can let go of whether or not you're standing center stage, sitting on a chair, holding a prop, sipping out of a cup, doing this, doing that. Like you just don't need that stuff. And for like those of us on the other side of the table, it's cringy. Like it feels like you're trying too hard. And I'm saying this out of with so much love because I absolutely did that when I was younger. Like I thought too hard about it. I was like, okay, well, I can't do Helena because Helena has been overdone. And it's like, no, I don't care. On the other side of the table, I don't care if you did Helena and so did the 5 girls before you. If you rocked Helena, I will notice. Like, it does not matter if you did Juliet or if you did this or if you did some obscure thing. Do a piece that you connect with, and I can tell if you don't. And that's what I consider like the worst auditions is like, and also of course preparedness. Like my worst auditions have been the times that I wasn't prepared.
One of the things that like I remember my university taught me was control what you can control. So like, and for me, like with preparedness, like if I am putting together my headshot and resume day of, I'm already like out of my mind. Like I can't, like if I need to go print my headshot before the audition, wow. So like stuff like that, like if you're driving, like add an extra 10, 20 minutes because there's gonna be traffic. So a couple of years ago, right when, what's that book called? 50 Shades of Grey came out. Somebody was telling me that they went to one of the like mass audition conferences, and for their like 30 seconds that you get to do your piece, the monologue that she chose was from 50 Shades of Grey. And she's like, it killed, as it was stuff that like they weren't expecting. And I mean, she was like a very quirky gal. So like, I think it really worked, but I was like, that's brilliant. I never, ever would have thought to bring in a piece that wasn't
a play
from like a play. And like, and she was like, your audition, you can do whatever you want.
I would say that goes along with what Hannah was saying. Like, I completely agree. As long as you're not choosing the piece kind of like I was saying to be edgy or like to stand out. Like, choose something that really connects to you. I don't care if it's from a book. I don't care if I've never seen it before. I don't care if the last 6 people did it. Like, I just want you to do something that you chose. I think for me, what also makes a good audition is the person comes in comfortable. Like, don't wear something you wouldn't normally wear. Don't wear something that, you know, is either too much in character or too like polished and professional so that you're uncomfortable and stiff and I can't see your character. There's I've seen great auditions in yoga pants and I've seen great auditions in stilettos. Like, I don't care what you're wearing. I don't give a shit. Someone will put you in a costume anyway. Like, you're not costuming yourself. And I feel like when I was in undergrad, so much emphasis was put on that. I think we talked about this on the podcast, like in a different way before, but like, you know, I was once told that you could not audition in pants. You had to audition in a skirt and pants. And I'm like, no, thank you. Like, I have, like, don't have your, like, don't do something that'll make your auditioner uncomfortable. Like, like, you know, keep all the bits covered. Like, don't, you know, like, don't make anyone feel awkward. But like, outside of that, like, you should really just, you know, like, you should dress like you want to dress, like makes you comfortable in the character. And you know, that to me makes a good audition. Picking a piece you love makes a good audition. I don't know. And I always felt this pressure too to keep choosing new pieces. And it's like, I'm not sure why I felt that. Like, I have 2 contemporary pieces that I just love. And I have 2, you know, like why can't I think of what we do? Classical pieces. Shakespeare. Shakespeare. So it's like, why not just keep doing them? Who cares? It's, you know, it's different auditioners. And if you connect to them, then it's hard enough to find a piece. It's like, just keep doing what you want to do. But, you know, like, don't do something that's clearly outside of your experience. I think that's another hard thing as an auditioner is, you know, when you have an 18-year-old auditioning and they're doing a piece that's like clearly written for a 55-year-old woman. And it's like, you know, that usually pushes on like trying too hard also. And it's like, save that one, like save it for when you're 55. There aren't enough roles for 55-year-old women, like, but put it in your back pocket and like keep doing something else. And then advice I got once was to like have a wild card, like have a monologue that is a character that you would never get to perform, that you would never get to audition for, but you just freaking love the monologue, and just have it in your back pocket. And if they ask for another piece, be like, well, I've got this oddball one. What do you think? And see if they want to hear it. And like, you know, that can be really fun too, and can bring out something different in the audition room. My last thing for a good audition is take notes. Like, if they give you a note and they ask to hear it again, do not do the same thing. Like, do something, even if you felt like you didn't fully understand the note, even if you completely disagree with the note, just take the note. They just want to see if you're directable. They're not going to ask you to do Othello with a New Jersey accent, hopefully. But like, if that's what they ask for and you don't know what that sounds like and you don't think it's correct for the character, it doesn't matter. Do your best. Just do it.
Yeah.
Because you also don't know, they might be asking you that because they have a show that's maybe later in their season you don't even know they're doing. And they're like, wait a minute, he came in for Othello, but I could really see him as blank.
Oh, and don't lie. Sorry, that's my last one. Don't lie. Never lie. Never lie in an audition. So.
Yeah, be truthful on your resume.
Yes. Careful on your resume. Oh, and don't put shit on your resume also to stand out. That's the other thing. I think that's probably the most important thing to me is like, if you put that you can like, you know, I don't know, people put the stupidest shit in their special skills. They're like good at flirting with women. I'm like, go to hell. Like,
okay, you know, crossing him off the list.
So hard crossing him off the list. It's like, I don't need some quirky thing about you to remember you. Like, do a good audition.
Just to go back to your like mention of a wild card, that's something that shows personality. And wow, is that something that like auditioners want to see? Because like an audition, like a day of auditions can kind of just be like a repeat of, hi, I'm blah, blah, blah. This is what I'm doing. Here are my pieces. Thank you. Bye. Hi, I'm blah, blah, blah. Like, so to have like a wild card, it's just such a good idea. I would also just like to say that I did not intend to do this, but on 2 occasions, I think it was, I've slated the wrong monologues that I was doing. And in my mind, I was like, I'll just keep going. They'll never know. And then I'm like, I'm already out of my head. I just need to say it. And so I was like, oops, actually, that's not what I'm doing. Here is what I'm doing. And for one of those, I did actually get a call back, or like I may have gotten an offer that I couldn't take, but I was just like, oh my God, I'm such a dodo. I told it to my friends like later that night, and they're like, oh, what? And I was like, oh God, oh no, oh fuck. But like, yeah. And then like I know somebody who's like tripped like on their way into the audition room, and they're like, sorry, like, hi, I'm whatever.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, casting directors were like, we got to see a bit of your personality. So I don't know, like mistakes can be good.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter. Again, I can tell if you're a real human or not, and you accidentally flubbing a line. Like, I mean, Dawn and I can attest to this. We have hired plenty of people who screwed up, who were late to their audition, who like got the timeline wrong because they were from Alabama and we were on Arizona time, and they ended up being accidentally 3 hours, like, again, if you're a real human and we can tell that you are a good person who has talent, like, screw ups are okay. Like, I mean, obviously, like, try your best not to be late, try your best not to do those things, but like, it's really all in how you handle it that matters. Then they will look past the trip or the whatever, or the forgotten resume or whatever it is. Again, try your best not to do those things. Like Becki said, like, control what you can control, but also you're a human. So things will happen.
Yeah. Well, people make mistakes on stage, and things go wrong on stage. And like, it's more than just seeing your personality, like seeing how you respond to something out of your control happening while you're acting is actually like a great test. It's, I mean, especially for a theater company like ours, right? Where you do outdoor theater. It's like, I love the idea of seeing something outside of that person's control happen, and how do they continue as an actor? How do they respond as an actor? Because if they can't, like, just keep going. If they can't get back into the moment, then you're gonna have trouble on stage too, right? But if they're like, oops, I fell, and like, here I keep going, it's like, great, wonderful. That's what I wanted to see. So I think like, it shows personality, but also shows perseverance. So it's like, I would never dismiss an actor because they slated wrong, ever. I would never be like, oh, not that person. Like, from the other side of the table, I do not care. Like, just don't care.
Just doesn't matter. Yeah.
But as an actor, you're telling yourself like, it matters so much,
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely though rather see you reslate, because I want to know that your where pieces. That came from. Like, I don't want to be like, oh.
Know the play that your piece is from. Dear God in heaven, know what the play is about. Read the play, watch the play, watch the movie. I don't care. Know who you're talking to, and know the context of the monologue in the play.
100%. Yeah, read the play, read the Spark Notes, watch the movie. I don't care. Know who you are.
Exactly. Know who you are, know who the person you're talking to is, know where you are, know what you want. And so similarly, like, we've talked a lot about just like auditioning in general, but we've been focusing more on like in-person auditions. So I think this all applies to video auditions as well. Like, again, props, costumes, those are all extraneous things. But what are things that have stood out to us when it comes to self-tapes? For me, I don't care if your wall is blank. I don't care if you have a perfect green screen behind you. Like, that is nice and it looks professional. And of course, I want to be able to see you and hear you well. But if there's a picture behind you, or if there's a dresser behind you, or whatever, like, I just don't really care about that. I really care more about, are you a good actor? Like, again, does it feel truthful? So I feel like a lot of people get bogged down, especially with self-tapes, of like, oh, well, like, I don't have the time to put up a sheet today and like fix all this perfect lighting and then like edit in all these fancy transitions. And it's like, just get it to me. Like, I would much rather see it, like, it doesn't have to be perfect, especially if you're traveling or if if you're the kind of person who is on contract, like you're not going to always have a perfect self-tape setup at all moments. So, but something that Becki taught me that I have taken into my self-tape journey is give yourself 3 takes and 3 takes only. So like you need to be prepared. So you need to know your piece or whatever. But when you go to actually film it, you get 3 takes. You're not going to change that much between 1, 3, 7, 10. So you can't wait. Like you need to just get it out. So Becki always taught me, you take 3 takes. Of course, if you flubbed it or something, like you can disregard that take, but you get 3 takes. It's only going to change ever so slightly. Your hand is here, your hand is there, but you got to do it. Like this is business. This is like, you just need to get it out. So I never did that. I would take 40 takes of a monologue and then I would like sit and watch that monologue like
all 40
times, and it would take me like 3 hours just to film it, and then I would need to edit it and get it out, and it's just too much. It's not going to change. Which is something I learned from you, so thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a rule that I also give myself grace for. Sometimes I'm like 7, 8 takes, and then but like, because I'm like, oh, the next one, like I'll nail that one line, and I'm like, okay, but is it going to be that much different? And 9 times out of 10, like they're never going to know that, like, oh wow, that one line. I do kind of disagree with the like having like a blank wall and stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, like, yes, like you as the actor are the most important thing in the video, but I do think, and maybe like this is as you kind of go maybe like up the ladder or whatnot, or maybe that's not the right word, but like, I don't know, if you're submitting for Broadway, like I think having like a clean, background and stuff is important, because I think that's what the majority of people are going to be submitting. So it might, whoever is looking at it might be like, oh, like that's different.
I just mean that like, if it's the difference between you doing the audition or not, like do it. Like if you don't have access to the perfect setup that day, but you have to get it out, like let that go. And again, control what you can control. If you can, please do. But if you can't, it's better to get the audition out, because you just don't know. But I agree. If you can, you should.
I think for me, like, I also don't, well, I really don't care, but I'm casting regional theater. The thing that matters to me is, did you show me in the video that you can do theater? Because if all you showed me is that you can do film, I'm skeptical. So like, I would say if you're filming an audition that is for theater, get your whole body in the shot, use the whole room that you're in. Because I want to see that you can fill a room. I want to see that you can use your body. I want to see that, like, when I get you on stage, you're not going to be too quiet for the audience to hear. You're not going to be too subtle for the audience to understand. Like, that's the hardest thing for me with self-tapes, is that theater and film are very, very, very different beasts. And so, like, in what way have you shown me in your video that you can do theater?
So true. Yeah. Do follow the parameters. So if the company specified, I want shoulder and up, please send them shoulder and up. If they specified under 2 minutes, again, good Lord, keep it under 2 minutes. And that's actually an advice I have, is if they don't specify time, shorter. Like, this is a 5-minute long audition reel. I knew within 30 seconds if I liked you or not. Like, if you can keep your monologue like under 16 lines, like, please do. Like 1 minute each, 32 bars of a song, like so quick. Like if your audition video is 1 minute and 53 seconds, wow. Yes, please. Like, I love that. I want it to be quick, because again, if you're good, that's all I need.
Yeah.
And
Well,
if I
and
need
if
to
I
see
want to see
more,
more, I'll
yeah,
ask for more.
exactly. That's what I was
Yeah.
just gonna say. I'll call
Yeah.
you back.
Yeah, but I mean, don't kill yourself making a 5-minute video. And,
Yeah.
and the thing is, we can see the timestamp when we started, and it's not a good foot to start on. Like if we open it up and it says 5 minutes,
Yeah.
everyone in the room is going to groan, and you're already on a bad foot. Just send your email and say, if there's anything else you want to see, let me know. Here's my 30-second audition. Like I don't care how long it is. Because Hannah's right. A lot of them, we try to honor the tapes that come in and watch the tapes that come in, but it's like most of the time we can tell in the first 15 seconds if we want to see the rest of the tape or if we don't want to see the rest of the tape. So yeah, just cut yourself a break too, and do everyone in the audition room a favor also. And then I guess my only other advice would be like, run it past someone. Like if you have time to have someone watch it, please have someone watch it.
Yeah.
If someone else, some of the best audition tapes I've seen, I could tell that they had someone else in the room with them. Like you could see they were making eye contact, or the other person even had a 1-word answer, or do you know what it like? Some of the best ones I've seen, it was really clear that there was another person there. And I think that, again, has to do with the fact that you're auditioning for theater, not film. So like, are you connecting to another human being in your monologue? It can make a huge difference.
Yeah. I've actually never thought about that.
Yeah, same.
I think it's kind of like, how it is like having photos taken. Like if we all go have photos taken together and we can like
hype each other
up, and so like we're happier and our personalities come through more. I think it's similar with auditions. It's like, if your partner is in the room, like holding the camera or whatever, and so you have them to like give you a little energy and a little bit of like pep.
Yeah,
totally.
Makes a big difference.
I think that's good advice. Yeah. Sometimes it's scary. At least personally, I would rather perform in front of 500 people than one.
Yeah.
One person is terrifying.
One person is a terrifying number of people to perform in front of.
Yes.
I'll give you that.
Very scary. But maybe you need it. Maybe you need to be a little scared. You need a fire under your ass, I guess.
Something I wanted to touch on with self-tapes, because I think prior to the pandemic, I would retape the same monologue like for each audition, or like if I was doing a batch, like I would slate, like I would do the, oh my God, what am I trying to say? I would do the monologue and then do a slate for each of the theaters, which I do think is important, or can be important if you have the time to like do a specific slate to that theater, especially if they're asking for anything specific in the slate. But something that the pandemic taught me was like, whoa, let me just record my monologues, like have one recording, and then that is what I send out, like moving forward for the next couple months. I do not need to re-tape the same monologue for each new audition.
I think I agree, as long as you do something in your email or in the YouTube link, something that you send, just needs to let them know that you know who the audition is for. Because what I will write off very quickly is someone who I can tell is just auditioning for everyone, because I'm like, well, we're not going to get them. Like, they don't want to come to Flagstaff. They don't want to work for a Shakespeare theater. They don't like, as long as I can tell, like they knew they were auditioning for me, and they really wanted to audition for me, and they know something about my company. But I totally agree that can happen in the email. Send me the tape. I don't care if you slated for me or whatever, as long as in the email you're like, Flagstaff looks so beautiful, and I've always wanted to see the Grand Canyon, or how cool to come across a woman-run company. Anything that lets me know that you know you're auditioning for me is like, that's
gold.
Prime. Also, I think I've already mentioned this on the podcast before, but I'm going to mention again because I really do think it's important. Like, if you can include in your email, not on your resume, in your email, if you can include an email address or 2 or 3 to people who are references for you, so that all I have to do is like click on their email address to open a new email and say, hey, is Hannah Fonts actually like an agreeable person? And they email me back and say like, yes, absolutely, you want her in the rehearsal room. That is worth so much to me, because there might be 12 people who gave as good of auditions as you did, but if I know you're an easier human to work with, then I want to hire you instead.
And also along the lines with making it specific, it can be as simple as you only recorded it once, but re-upload it to YouTube with 17 different names. So you recorded it once, but you upload it to YouTube with Flag Shakes Hannah Fonts 2023.
Yeah.
But they don't know that you recorded it for 7 different companies, but you specifically, the name of the video is your name, the name of the company. And even if it doesn't have a specific slate, it looks very much like you recorded this for them. Because sometimes I'll open up a video from someone and the video is from 2 years ago. And it just says like contrasting Shakespeare. And you're like, oh, so this is the one time you recorded videos, 3 seasons ago, and you're just resending out this link every year.
Yeah.
I also think it is worth like every few months to refresh. So again, you learn a lot as you grow up and as you grow older and you do more shows. So even if you're doing the same pieces, a quick refresh, like a new recording of the same pieces, you're in new clothes, you look slightly different, you've maybe brought something new that's different from 6 months ago. I think a refresh can be really good. But yeah, I think using the same pieces is the smart way to go. Like, I like learn a new piece every few years just so that, it's not stale. But then I will use that piece over and over and over again. And then you can whip it out at any moment. It's in the back of your mind. You know it word for word, backwards, forwards. You could do it with 3 accents. You could do it at the drop of a hat. Like it's
In
just ready to go. Yes.
Yeah. I keep a list of every audition that I've been to, or like even like every email that I've sent.
Ooh.
Yeah, well,
really smart
to a company. Yeah, so that this way, and like I'm like, okay, what was I submitting for? Like, what was the project? What was the character even? I go as far as like, what was the pay scale? Like, where are they located? Who did I email? Who is reviewing? Like, et cetera, et cetera. What did I wear? Well, most importantly is like what I wore, or sorry, what I showed them and who was in the room or who was I emailing. Because then now I can look back at last year's stuff and I can be like, oh, did I email this company? Oh, I did. What did I send them? Oh, I sent them that. Okay, maybe I'll send them my other like contemporary piece this time.
Yeah.
Or
well,
like,
I think this is brilliant, Becki, because then you can get even more personal in like the email or whatever you resend, and you can be like, hey, it was my pleasure to send Stephanie this audition for this show that you did last year. I hope the show went really well. This year I'm auditioning for, do you know what, like anything that like personalizes it to let the theater company know that you're interested in them and the work they're producing, I think is a huge deal. And if you keep that spreadsheet, oh my gosh, that's brilliant.
Yeah. And Dawn, I don't think I've ever done what you've just suggested, like calling back to like, hey, last year, like I sent this in, or like whatever, or like loved auditioning for that show last year, like love your season this year. Like, that's so great. Because then it's like, hey, I'm not some rando, like I want to work for you. This is my 2nd or 3rd time like reaching out to you.
Yeah.
And you're keeping tabs on them. I think that's important. Like the companies that I'm most interested in are the ones that I'm most interested in. Like I've been following you on Instagram. I've been watching what you're doing. Like I actually care what you're doing and what you're up to. And if someone really wants to work for Flag Shakes, I know because they've come across my desk this many times or whatever. Like you start to see people, which actually brings me to my next question. And then we're going over on time, so we should wrap it up soon.
This could be a whole podcast, like in and of itself.
Absolutely. So we should do like a part 2. But is it worth continuing to audition for a company who hasn't hired you? Like there are some companies that I've auditioned for like, 8 or 9 years in a row that I've never gotten anything from, and I just kind of keep submitting. What are your thoughts on that?
I absolutely think so. Because, well, one, just because somebody was casting last year doesn't mean that they're in the same position. Like it could be
True.
new people. It, like, like turnover happens in this business. I say definitely, especially if it's a company that you really want to work for, because, and if it is the same person who's in the room, then it's the more chances that they're seeing you. And I think that's
Yeah.
saying like, you could be like the best actor, but not right for that specific role or that casting. Like, like, oh, they wanted somebody shorter or they wanted somebody taller and you were great, but you're 6 foot, like just the more times that I think you can get in front of somebody and like, of course, like being your authentic self and like, oh, Blake just came into the Zoom. Hi, baby.
Yay, Blake.
Yeah, like I think like yay. I mean, I absolutely think you should audition for the same company. You should audition for whatever you want to audition for, even if it's been a couple years and you're not being cast from them.
Yeah.
Because I just think like the more times you can get in front of somebody like in the right way, like at an audition and stuff, the better.
Yeah, totally. Which I think I inherently knew the answer, but it can be very discouraging because, like, sometimes you're just like, okay, well, clearly they don't want me. Like, why am I continuing to send something to someone if they're not like returning? But I do think it's true. Like, it only would help,
Yeah. Persistence.
Persistence. Yeah, which Don said, like, my persistence is what got me into this company, which, yeah, I will say, like, sometimes you just need to bug someone and it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
tap on the door.
Yeah. I would say don't see it as bugging them. Just see it as like, you're actually helping. Yeah. Like had some big thoughts. This whole podcast world.
He waved.
He did a big wave. Look, it's Becki. There's the
guest star of the episode.
Hi, buddy.
Yeah, I totally agree with Becki. I think keep auditioning because also, like I've said a lot of times, it shows that you're really interested in the company, and that goes a long, long way for me. So, as a person who's doing casting.
Whew. Well, I feel like we have so much more to say. Like we didn't even cover headshots, resumes, actual like email etiquette, how you walk in the room, how you check it. Like we didn't really get to any of that. I feel like we mostly focused on like how to do a good audition, but we didn't really touch base on like all of the extraneous items.
The before and after.
We always say this, but let's try to do a follow-up episode on this because I think that it's just something that actors need to hear, and we need to remind ourselves of good habits. And sometimes you just need to, because I mean, auditioning is what we do. Like it's so big. It's such a big part of our industry. And it's definitely like probably the hardest part of our industry. So let's try to loop back, but we wish you all the best of luck this audition season. And actually, I guess this would be a plug. Our auditions for Flag Shakes are coming up. We are announcing them ASAP, but it's looking like end of February right now. So keep an eye out on the socials and stuff. And if you're interested in auditioning for Flag Shakes, that is when we will be auditioning. But that was lovely. That was a really great chat. And it makes me invigorated to work on my pieces.
Thanks for listening to this month's episode of Untamed Shrews. I'm Becki.
And I'm Hannah. And Dawn just left the Zoom because she had to go with her baby.
Interwebs. And babes. Join us next time in February for episode 26. Follow Untamed Shrews on Instagram at Untamed Shrews Podcast and on the Flag Shakes website. All episodes of Untamed Shrews can be found wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on sunsounds.org and the Flag Shakes YouTube. Please subscribe to this podcast, leave us a review, put us in your Instagram stories, donate at flagshakes.org/donate, or DM us about becoming a podcast sponsor. Help support the Shrew Crew.
This episode of Untamed Shrews starring Dawn Tucker, Becki Zaritsky, and Hannah Fonts. Show art by Calliope Luedeker. Podcast theme song by Cadence Lamb. Podcast produced and edited by Hannah Fonts. Presented by Flagstaff Shakespeare Festival and recorded with Sun Sounds of Arizona. And of course, a huge special thank you to our audio engineer, Gina Byers.
Yay!
Bye.
Thank you, Gina. Bye, everyone.
You're welcome.
Bye, guys.